The transit grant?
Yeah, I know, Mr. Gomez is here, but I don't know who's gonna do the heart lift thing.
But
Okay.
hot lift,
Oh, you can do that, Mr.
Yvonne's here. Yvonne's doing a
Oh.
hot lift and a
Oh.
small business investment. She has a presentation.
All right, we're live.
Okay.
Well, we got
Recording in progress.
All right, so we do have a forum. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Planning, Economic Development and Housing Committee meeting tonight on PEDH. Today is Wednesday, May 3rd. The committee, as a little house cleaning information, is being recorded and will be broadcasted on Comcast TV channel 96 and Frontier TV channel 6032. And if you're not watching it live, you can always go back to HPA-TV Facebook and watch the program. So we have a really busy schedule. We have Assistant Majority Leader Rossetti, who is a voting member of the committee. We have a new wonderful welcome, Councilman Hernandez. He's our wonderful new councilman. He's just joined our committee. We appreciate you joining the committee. Thank you. I don't know if I see any other council person here, but we have a quorum because we have three committee members who were here at the meeting. We also have in the meeting, we have the Director of Development Services, Charles Matthews. We also have, I don't see, I'm going down my list of people. We have Ms. Cecilia Drayton, who is of the Office of Sustainability from the Mayor's Office. We have, oh, wonderful. Good evening, Yvonne. We have our Small Business Director, Yvonne Howe. Oh, good evening, Mr. Gomes, sorry. We have Parking Authority, and I can see who else. If I've missed anyone, I do apologize. I'm just looking at the faces on the screen to see who I recognize. You, please forgive me and just let me know, and I will announce you in here. So we have a really, really busy schedule this evening. We've got lots of presentation and a few items that we need to address. And I will ask the committee members if I can take a couple of items on the agenda, out of order, so we can make this more efficient as possible. Items 2.1, which is Mayor Bronin resolution accompanying ordinance amending Chapter 18, Article 2 of the Hartford Municipal Code. Now that item was voted upon at our last council meeting in April. And so we have discharged that item for the committee. So we don't have to take that one up tonight. Item 2.4, which is Majority Leader Thomas Clark, Council President Rosado, Council Member Nick LeBron, Councilman James Sanchez, and Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon. This resolution was calling for a designated area for tractor trailer to park. I believe the administration is still not ready to come to the committee with any information. So I would like a motion to actually table that item on the agenda.
Motion, Council, through you, Madam Chair, motion to table. Now I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. Agenda item 2.2.
2.4, ma'am.
2.4, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's duly been second. Those in favor of tabling this item? Aye. Those opposed? Any abstention? Hearing none, seeing none. Item 2.4 is tabled until the administration is ready to give us a report of some areas for tractor trailer to park. So the next item on the agenda is item 2.2. And that item is was a resolution from Councilman Nick LeBron and Council President Molly Rosado, the resolution calling for an update for the Art Lift program. And the item was on the agenda, I believe that was in March of our council meeting. Do we have anyone from the administration to address this item?
Yes, Yvonne is here as Director of Small Business and initiatives to give a report on the Hot Lift program, the Small Business Investment Program, and a little bit about the micro grant program that has not been announced yet. I believe Yvonne is on now, and she has a presentation she would like to make.
Sure. Let me just also acknowledge that Councilman Gale has joined and he is a committee voting member. Yvonne, you believe you have the authority to share your presentation?
Yes, yes. Can we see the presentation?
Yes.
Good evening, council members. I am giving a couple of updates on quite a few of our small business programs, and the first one is HeartLift program. So HeartLift program was first announced on December 2nd, 2021.
Yvonne,
So yeah.
Yvonne, for some reason, are we seeing double slides here?
Yes,
Or maybe
sir.
it's just my screen?
No, we are seeing double slides.
Yes.
Let me see, how do I?
Did you go to the PowerPoint and do a presentation?
Yeah, it's coming up on both of my screens. So.
Okay. Well, maybe we
Yeah,
just.
you've got it set so the next
Yep,
slide,
there
there
you
you
go.
go.
Okay, there you go.
Is
There
it
you
good
go.
now?
Thank
Yep.
you, Councilwoman. Thank you.
Okay. So the program was announced on December 2nd, 2021. So it has been in place for about a little bit over a year now. So the total funding pool is $7 million. Initial funding pool was $6 million. We added $1 million to the existing pool because the program was really popular. We received a lot of applications. So the goal of this program is to activate vacant space in both downtown and neighborhood. So this is through providing financial assistance for interior and exterior renovation to property owners, and the funds will be passed on to small business owners who are their tenants. So the program is administered through the Hartford Chamber of Commerce. Julio Concepcion is with us today as well. He'll be able to answer the day-to-day operations of the program. The city of Hartford's role in this program is to provide oversight and regulatory guidelines because this program is funded under ARPA. So in terms of eligible projects for downtown businesses, we can use this funding for vacant storefronts to be filled by new businesses, and existing businesses can also apply if they're within the downtown district. And for neighborhoods, we only allow for new businesses to fill out vacant storefronts. So far, looking at the numbers, we have 62 projects in total that has been committed funding from HeartLift. As of we speak today, we have 17 that's completed. We have 23 that's under construction and 22 that's pending action. That means basically they either haven't signed a grant agreement, haven't fully committed to the program themselves, but we have already approved the application, or they haven't done any construction work yet. We did put a hard deadline of June 1st in place to make sure that these pending action projects give us some kind of status update to make sure that we can also get a full picture of what's going on with the funding that's in the existing funding pool. Out of the 62 projects, we have 30 in downtown, 32 in neighborhoods, and we have committed over $6.5 million. And to date, we have dispersed about $2.3 million. That means people have finished construction and they have already come to the chamber for their reimbursement. Some other numbers, minority women-owned businesses, about 66% of these businesses are minority and women-owned, and we have activated 220,000 total square feet in the city of Hartford, and we have estimated 740 jobs created. That's not just from the projects opening up new businesses. This is also by extension, construction jobs that were created and other services that are being provided throughout the program. So these are the completed projects. You can see some before after photos. We'll Make Shop is on Pratt Street. And this is what it looks like before. And now it's a very popular coffee shop for downtown area. And then we have City Lighting that's on Murphy Road. So they also turned this into a really big, light showroom for their business. And this is a total list, the complete list of completed projects through Hartlift. And yeah. Okay, so
Sorry.
no problem. And we have these projects that are under construction. There are 23 of them in total. And then we have these pending projects. Like I said, there are some activities. Some of them have some activities, but there is no official report. Some of them haven't really committed to the program itself. So moving forward, the city will continue providing guidance and also providing oversight as the chamber manages the program on a daily basis. So I'm happy to stop here and take any questions about the Hartlift program and what it looks like.
Thank you, Yvonne. I do believe Councilman, I thought I saw the council person who had initiated this request. Is Councilman DeBron on? I thought I saw him.
He is.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman LeBron. I thought I saw you. I know you are the one who initiated and wanting for the council to get an update on this. So I would like to give you the opportunity to,
Sure.
Your
Madam Chair,
questions.
before we go to the council person, I'm wondering it might be an opportunity to have Julio Concepcion kind of make a
he
pitch.
is? Oh,
He's
sorry.
on, and then we can have it all in front of us.
Yeah.
Julio
I apologize
Concepcion.
for Representative Concepcion, and my apologies, sir.
Oh, no worries at all, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I do apologize. Please, I know you were in charge of writing up the program and you started administrating, but please, update us on your, what your point of view from the
No,
chamber side.
sure. I'm certainly not going to take up a lot of time, and I apologize if it's a little loud. We're still here in session today. But Yvonne, I think spelled it out perfectly. This was a program that we worked with the city on starting in early 2020 as the ARPA dollars started to be disseminated to the city. And as you can see, we didn't know what the response was going to be when we first rolled this out in December of 21, but I'm happy to see the response rate for all of these. And as you can see that Yvonne, again, did a wonderful job kind of spelling that out. So happy to answer any questions on the day-to-day stuff. Appreciate it, Chairwoman.
Yes, thank you, Concepcion, Representative. Councilman LeBron.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, and thank you guys for the update and presentation. And I'm sorry I came a couple minutes late. Was there a slide with a map of what the downtown designated area is?
We didn't put it in, but I can bring it up if you like me to.
Yeah. So my question is around number one, what is the existing downtown map that is being used? I know in general what they are. And then number two, the stores that were existing that weren't in the downtown area that didn't fall in that category, but somehow got the money. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Connecticut Lighting isn't in the downtown area, but they got funding, and so they were an existing business. They weren't a new business. So if we could just, if we can explain how that happened.
I can't see you guys, but happy to answer that, Councilman. The reason that Connecticut Lighting was eligible for the funding was because they are opening up in a new vacant storefront. So it wasn't an existing building. It was a build out for a new location.
Okay. And so thank you, Representative Concepcion. I appreciate you and appreciate you taking time during the session. So it's my understanding that in the listing of properties, I think the list that I saw, I know it was very small, and through you, Madam Chair, was that the properties on Capitol Avenue, Red Rock, and a couple other properties, which are existing businesses, did get Heartlift dollars?
Red Rock did not get Heartlift dollars. There's a vacant storefront next to it that is owned by the same owners of Red Rock that is opening up a new pizzeria called Kenny's. So Red Rock themselves did not get any Heartlift funds, but we allocated some money for the new Kenny's.
Okay, so so none of those properties, not Red Rock, the ice cream shop, the coffee shop, and the other store on the corner, none of them received Heartlift dollars?
So they were, when the program first rolled out in December of 21, the way the program was written was that both existing and vacant storefronts were eligible. Again, we wanted to keep our options open, not knowing what the response was going to be. Once we let this out and we saw the immense amount of interest in the program, there was a decision by both the city and the chamber after the first round, which were 10 applicants were given, were approved, which did include Capital Ice Cream and Story and Soil. After that first round, the mayor's office and the city and the chamber kind of came together and decided to really just focus on vacant storefronts at that point, knowing that the response rate was so large. So we pivoted, and the city did commit to creating a new program that would help out existing businesses.
And just to be clear, as to the Red Rock, while they did not qualify because we did make a pivot, as the state rep indicated, they did qualify for the Small Business Investment Program. And we have given them funding under the Small Business Investment Program, which Yvonne will talk about shortly.
Yeah, I think, so through you, Madam Chair, I think my concern is that, so let me ask the next question. When that pivot was made, was any outreach provided to the applicants who went into that time frame? And when did that pivot switch? When exactly did that pivot switch?
I'll have to get you the exact date, but it was after the first round of applicants. And, I know Red Rock was one of them. I know Piggy's was one of them. Excuse me, hold on. Sorry, I didn't.
I know he has to go and vote.
No. Sorry about that, guys. So Red Rock and for example, Piggy's as examples did apply for the first or applied for Heartlift funds. When the decision was made to pivot, I know they were reaching out to us in the city, and we were trying to figure out exactly how we can help those existing businesses that didn't fall into the right parameters of the program anymore. And I know the city really worked hard on trying to create what Yvonne created on the small business side. I know it took a while, but I can get you the exact dates, Councilman, on when the decision was made, but it was certainly after the first round.
Right. And so my understanding is that Piggy's and the other organizations did apply in that first round and weren't accepted based upon the pivoting rules. But I guess I just need to know the dates of the pivot and the outreach that was done to all businesses in general when the pivot was made.
Sure.
And what that looked like. Because it seems that the Heartlift was intended to do one thing, and then it was a switch, which I understand. And it's the city's and your consultant as best to decide which way you want to head with the grant and use the grant money as best as possible. But switching the goalpost on small business owners and when, I think, is an important communication. So if I can see, I think what I would like to see, Madam Chair, is a heat map or a map of the businesses that were outside of the downtown district that did receive funding, and then also a timeline when so I guess we would call it phase 1 and phase 2, or pre-pivot and after pivot when those were granted, to just make sure that we have fidelity and that business owners in the community can feel confident in the Heartlift program.
I believe, Councilman, there is a map up that is being shown currently.
Oh, there is?
Yes, if you take a look at your screen.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
shows the downtown district. This is what defines the downtown district for Heartlift recipients. And one thing I do want to point out that we do have some neighborhood businesses that have also received funding from Heartlift. That's because they're activating vacant space. So downtown, right.
Yeah, I do understand that. Thank you, Ms. Sal. I guess just overall, my overall question would be all the Heartlift applicants that are outside the downtown area who were existing businesses who, and when they did apply pre-pivot or post-pivot, I guess would be my question. If we all can get provided that, I think that would answer and provide the confidence that the community needs.
Councilman, I'm happy to do that. There weren't that many that were existing in the beginning. You know, that's why we pivoted to existing, or I'm sorry, to vacant storefronts, because that's really the amount of applications we first got were from for vacant storefronts. But I'm happy to provide you with the ones that we got early on that were existing outside of downtown.
Yeah, and just when their application was put in pre and post pivot.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
I have that info.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Is there any other questions?
I have a question.
I'm sure. Who's this?
This is Senator McCory. I'm sorry I came on late. Is this a meeting among your own group, your council people?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And who's speaking?
This is Senator Douglas McCory.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I could not hear. Absolutely, Senator. You are one of our favorite senators and from our delegation in the city of Hartford. Please, sir, if you have questions, please ask.
Yes, I have a few questions. It's funny. Is my Representative Concepcion on the call?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I was getting ready to come see you because I have some questions about this program.
Yeah.
Can you give me the basics of this program? Then I have some questions about the outcomes of the results of the program so far. How does this program work?
Sure. So the program was created in 2021 to use some of the ARPA dollars to activate vacant storefronts throughout the city. So the way the program is a property owner can apply for it if they have a tenant that's going to fill in one of those vacant storefronts and activate it. Right. And the funds can be used only essentially for build out costs to help the cost of the build out of the property to really incentivize a tenant to go in there.
Okay.
It's also sorry to cut you off. It's a matching grant in the downtown quarter. It's 1-to-1. So for every $1 that a property owner or a tenant puts in for the build out cost, we would match that with $1. In the neighborhoods,
up to how much? Up to how much?
Yep, up to $150,000. It's $50 per square foot. So if you have a smaller space, if your property is 1,000 square feet, then the max you can get, because it's $50 per square foot, would be $50,000. But if you have a larger space.
So I'm trying to rush. I'm trying to get out this building now. We just finished.
You and I both.
So at the end of the day, the max they can receive is $150,000, and if it's downtown, it's a 50-50 match. The landlord will have to come up with half the money, and then you provide the other half. Is that correct?
That's correct. In the neighborhoods, it's actually better. It's actually for every 50 cents that a property owner puts in, we match that with $1.
Okay, so it's the other way around. Okay, good.
Yep.
Now, my question is this: the money came from ARPA dollars.
That's correct.
$6 million. So the city gave your agency the opportunity to run this program, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Essentially, yep.
All right. So if it sounds to me that the person that benefits most from this program is the landlord, because even if a tenant doesn't come in, the tenant they initially come in, eventually that landlord is going to get a new build out space, correct?
Not unless, so they have to have a tenant already in place. So we have to have a signed lease with them. And the tenant, so, and again, the money it has to flow through the property owner, because the way the ARPA dollars were built out, you have to show a loss due to COVID. So that's obviously a property owner. A new business can't show a loss, right? Because they weren't there prior to 2020.
So if you wasn't in business prior to 2020, this program wouldn't apply for you. You have to show that you had lost through COVID dollars.
Just the property owner, not the business. It can be a new business, right? But if because the property owner, that vacant property was vacant before COVID, and through COVID, it was almost impossible for a property owner to try to get a tenant in there. So that's why it flows through the property owner. But you can be a new business going into a space, but it just has to flow through the property owner.
Okay, so, and outside, and I noticed that half the businesses that came through this program were downtown, and other businesses were out in the neighborhoods. Is that correct? Based on the data that I received from your office, right?
That's correct.
50.
Now, have you analyzed this data in regards to equity, in regards to location, who received, what areas of the city received these funds?
So we can provide you with a list, a map. Obviously
I got it.
So you have.
I have the name of the addresses.
Yeah. So when you're saying equity on
location of cities who are able to receive this program, to benefit from this program.
So anybody throughout the city was eligible for the program.
Right. And I saw in your outcomes, I'm looking at your outcomes who benefits. I think you allocated $6.4 million is used for this program.
Yep.
And based on the data, and I might be a little wrong, but I'm looking at the businesses in the north end of Hartford.
Yep.
And I identified 207 Garden Street. Yep. I identified 213 Garden Street. I identified 1283. I don't know where's 1283. Where's 1283 Main Street?
1283 Main Street is right. It's right in front of Capitol Prep.
Let's cross the street from Capitol Prep, which is down near the baseball stadium. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that's. And then I identified 450 Homestead Avenue. Yep. Vehicle storage. Where's that?
That's right. It's Gateway Storage. It's right on Homestead Avenue, heading up towards Albany.
Right at the corner of Albany and Homestead.
Yep.
It's a car storage building.
That's what they're building. Yep.
Yeah. So based on these are the only areas in the north end of Hartford I've seen we benefited from this program. Are you aware of that?
I absolutely aware. And 12. What's the one on North Main Street as well? 3229 North Main Street. Yeah. So
3229 North Main Street. Oh, a Tropic Caribbean Grill. Yeah. So was there? Talk to me about how that. Why those numbers look like that?
Couple things. I mean, so one, there weren't too many. Depending on downtown, right? Compared to downtown, there's such a density of vacant storefronts. When we would go to North Main Street or even the South End, there weren't that many vacant storefronts. We've talked to, part of the conversations that we've always had when we were building the program. We met with a bunch of property owners throughout, including obviously the NRZs, Upper Albany, Main Street, HESBA, at least for the North End, Blue Hills. They were all part of the conversation. So we always ask them to, make sure you push this out to your individuals. And, these are the ones that we received.
Are you comfortable with your data, your numbers in regards to where you are? That's my question. Is the city, or I guess the city, are you guys comfortable with this equity? Because this adds up to less than 200. This adds up to like $250,000 out of $6.4 million that was for this program. Are you comfortable with your numbers?
Senator, it adds up to more than that.
No. Those those for 150, the vehicle storage, 150, the grill, the com grill, that's 300,000, $20,000 for half the company, you're right, and then 55, that's 375. I say it's about $400,000. Are you comfortable with with that data?
I'm going to talk, Senator Corey, Councilwoman Surgeon. One of the things I know I did was reach out to all of the storefronts, especially in Upper Albany. People did not want to, or the property owners did not want to take opportunity for these programs. The ones who did in North Hartford, especially on North Main Street and Albany Avenue, are the ones who reached out. As far as outreach is concerned, I know from my committee, we did a lot of outreach on the North Main Street and Upper Albany. Don't know very much about Blue Hills, and majority of the property owners did not want to, take the opportunity to do so. So I'm comfortable, and I am comfortable that, if they had reached out and wanted to take this opportunity, I think they would have been approved.
Did you find that a lot of these owners didn't live in the city of Hartford, and they lived outside the city of Hartford, and therefore they would have to put up their own money even in the neighborhoods to get this grant? So if you don't live in that neighborhood, you don't, or if you just a landlord, I would honestly, if I was a landlord and I lived in New Jersey and I had to put up $30,000 to get $60,000, I'm not doing it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't benefit from it. So I can see why people, unless they own that property, of course they don't have the option. Those businesses doesn't have the option of going after this program. So again, based on your policies that I don't know who wrote this program, these are the outcomes. And my question again is, are you satisfied with your outcomes? Because clearly, unless you own that business and you lived in that community, you are not going to put your money up to get the benefit from this program. And clearly, a lot of people who run those businesses in that community, I don't have resources like that. They don't have the money like that. So I can see how a business owner downtown who might have a little more resources, they can put up $75,000 to get the $150,000. And therefore, that's why half your businesses were done downtown. The other half were done out in the community, but not in North End. I saw 9 properties on Park Street. Some business owners over there are smart enough to take advantage of this program. And what I'm saying is, this is your programs. These are the outcomes. Are you comfortable with your outcomes? But if you're not, then we might have to do something else with some monies to make this more equitable for business owners throughout the city. That's my question.
Madam Chair, point of order. This is a committee of the City Council. Senator McCrory has made his point. He's made his point. I think we should move on at this time.
Excuse me, Councilman Gale. Okay.
Yes, madam. It's a point of order.
I understand your point of order, but we do have a sitting senator, and I would like to give him the opportunity to.
Senator John, yeah, let me finish. Thank you, Shirley. John, is there an issue with me asking about a program? I just, the only reason I knew about this meeting, John, is because I called somebody in the city government to ask about this. I actually, like I said, I was gonna go down to Representative Concepcion to have him explain it to me. But if you're having if you're uncomfortable with me asking about outcomes of the program, just say that, John, and I'll be okay with that.
No, Senator, I am not uncomfortable with you asking at all. However, I think you've made your point. You asked Representative Concepcion several times, is he comfortable with the outcomes?
I didn't hear his answer.
Well, let him answer and let's move on.
I'm sorry, John. Okay, I'm sorry. You just wanted to answer. I'm sorry.
Listen, let me jump in here, Chair.
Excuse me a second, guys. I'm chair of this committee, okay? And I would really like, one person at a time to speak. And if you just raise your hand so I can acknowledge you, Yvonne, could you take the presentation down so I can see everyone? I would appreciate it. And, this is a committee meeting, Councilman Gale, and I truly understand and respect that as a member of the community. But also, I do have to respect the senator. He's a sitting senator and from the city of Hartford and the delegation. And he can certainly join this committee and ask any questions he would like to. Out of respect for him, I would like to give him the opportunity to do so. We do know we do have a heavy, agenda that we need to get through. But this is also important that we do have our senator's support on these programs that we initiated from the city of Hartford. So again, I will listen to the opportunity to, ask his questions, and whoever is going to respond, please respond.
So, and Shirley, I'm sorry. That's why I asked ahead. I didn't know what type of meeting this was. I didn't know it was just your own your committee. I didn't know. I didn't know it was a pub. That's why I asked. Because I have never come to a pub. I've been in office for 18, 19 years. I have never come to a city council meeting. I have never done any. That's why I asked that question ahead of time. If y'all was having your own private meeting, I was going to have this conversation with Representative John. That's why I want. But now that John has given me the opportunity to ask the question, because the reason why I asked the question, because I want to be able to help the program, expand the program, if we can do some things, to make it better for business owners. That's why I'm here, John, to ask these questions. So again, my question was, are you guys comfortable with your outcomes? And if not, what can we do to make it more amenable and more equitable? You understand what I'm saying? So again, John, Representative Concepcion, you can answer that. And then John, if you have a response, I would love to hear yours.
Yeah, so Senator, I am comfortable with the outcomes.
Okay.
We work with as many people as possible. We work with anybody that, regardless of where we are in the neighborhood, to try to fill any type of vacant storefront. To your point, though, I'm more than happy to work with you and any other leaders to see if there's ways, if there's additional funds to supplement, but tweak the program that would make it a little bit more amenable for businesses, specifically in our neighborhoods, to be able to take advantage of a program like this. I'm more than happy to work with you and any other leaders to do that.
There you go. And that's why I'm here to have the conversation. So if anyone feels uncomfortable, some uneasiness by me asking a question based on the data that was provided to me, that's your problem. So anybody else have a question for what I'm asking?
Oh, well, thank you very much, Senator McCrory. We really
Appreciate that.
Any more funds you can bring to the city on behalf of the business, we would certainly thank you very much for that.
We'll have to modify the way we go about doing this program, because in my opinion, the way we went about doing this program, it was beneficial for a lot, but a lot of people missed the opportunities for a number of reasons, especially, for what I called out. I thank you guys very much. And if anyone got a problem or question, Shirley, you can give them my number. And if anyone is uncomfortable with any way I ask the questions, this is my first time again ever coming to ask a question. But when I got this data, this right here jumped off the map for me. It jumped off the map. There's a whole lot of things I could talk about. This one scared the daylights out of me. But now I understand why. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir. And can we anticipate getting any additional funds from the state?
Yeah, okay. We can have a conversation. Make sure John's at the meeting, though. I want John to be a part of it, because I got a sense that he was uncomfortable with the way I was asking the question. So if you guys looking to give me more resources, make sure John's part of the conversation from the beginning, so he can understand what I'm trying to do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Representative Gale, you have a great day and a better tomorrow.
Senator McCrory, before you leave, I'm not uncomfortable with you. I wasn't uncomfortable with the way you're asking the questions. I'm 100% supportive of every concept you had. I just wanted to move the conversation along. That's all.
All right. It sounds like you did a great job. You guys have a great day and a better tomorrow. And anybody who Shirley, I'll reach out to you. Representative Concepcion, I'll reach out to you. And anybody else who want to be a part of that meeting, we can go from there. You guys have a great day and better tomorrow.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, I want to make sure we make this point. This program was designed by DDS, and it was designed to activate vacant space in the neighborhoods and downtown. Obviously, it was a lot of vacant space downtown. If you look at Albany Avenue, thankfully, they don't have a whole lot of vacant space. That was the problem we had on Albany Avenue, trying to get a lot of the Albany Avenue folks involved. There's not a lot of vacant space.
Right.
That being said, the data point that we need to keep focus on, 66% of all the money went to people of color and women. So we really made an attempt to make sure that this money served people who are represented in the city. Now, you can always make the argument, and I agree with Senator McCrory, are there things we can do better for neighborhood folks who may not have the matching funds? Yeah, if we have enough money. We wanted to make sure, Senator, that people had some skin in the game. So we set up a process where downtown, you got to do 100% match. In the neighborhood, only 50. So we try to set it up that way to help out with the folks in the neighborhood. But the biggest problem we had on some corridors, no vacant space. That was
Gotcha.
the biggest problem we had. Just so
Gotcha.
you know.
I got you. And listen, once I learned how our program operate and what you were trying to do, I get it. I don't have a problem with anything you said. You understand my concern, right?
Sure,
Sure. Yeah, thank you. That's all I'm saying. That's all. All right. You guys have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you, Representative Concepcion, for joining our committee. I think we finished the presentation for the Heart program. So the next item on our agenda.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, whoa, time out, time out. We haven't gotten to ask any questions yet.
Oh, I apologize. Representative, I'm sorry, Councilman Gale, I apologize. I thought I didn't see any hands up because I was waiting to see any hands up. I didn't see any hands up.
Representative Hernandez had his hand up the entire time.
Oh,
He just
I did
took it
not-
down,
I-
Madam Chair. And
I
I have
heard you.
questions as well.
Hold on a second. Remember, the presentation was up, so I wasn't able to see. And the hands, when the presentation came down, the hands went down. So Representative Concepcion, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Great. So there's a few questions from the council members. I don't know who goes first. Councilman Hernandez or
I will
Councilman Gale?
go with Councilman Hernandez. He had his hand up first.
Okay, so let's do it. So I have two quick questions. Out of the 17 completed projects, do we know that all 17 of those businesses are still open right now?
We know, yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. Out of the 23 that are under construction, and I believe 22 that are pending, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember the numbers now, but I think it's 23 and 22. Because we only have, although we have committed 93% of the funding, $6.6 million, 93% of it. But we have only disbursed 2 point something, I don't have the numbers in front of me anymore.
Yeah.
2 million or something. Do we have a concern that because this funding has to be distributed by December of 2024, do we have a concern that these monies will not be distributed, although they are almost fully committed, distributed before the deadline? Is that a concern because of the process that it takes, of reimbursement? And is that a concern?
There's no concern on my end. In fact, the ones that have not signed their grant recipient agreement, which was a handful of them, we've reached out to. And as Yvonne mentioned, we're putting a drop dead deadline on them to whether or not the project's going to continue. Because if it's not, we still have a kind of an inventory or a pipeline of businesses that would love to use a program. So if they're not going to use it, we have some excess funds to offer to other projects.
So the amount that's committed includes the pending ones as well?
Oh, no.
So the pending project, the 22 pending projects, that's
Oh,
not
I'm sorry.
included?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I thought you meant the ones in the pipeline. And I'm
No,
trying to,
the pending ones.
yeah, and I'm trying to mute just in time so you guys don't hear the background noise. But yes, the 22 that are pending are part of the $6.5 million that we've allocated.
Okay,
Yes.
I got scared for a second because that's like almost all the money already.
Yeah.
So-
No.
Okay,
I apologize for that.
Okay,
Apologize.
sounds good. That completes my question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, Senator. Councilman Gale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Concepcion, on that list was the Hog River Brewery.
Yeah.
And
So
my understanding is that they are not going to be making that move. Are you aware of that or not?
no, absolutely. We've had our conversations with Carlos Moto, who owns 1420, and he has been working with another brewery to take that space. So absolutely know the situation, and we're on top of it and looking at it. We're making sure that continues.
So the funds may be used, but just not for that particular business.
That's right.
Yes, if it's still the brewery, we would still need additional documentation. They would have to sign another grant recipient agreement. We would have to receive another signed lease with the new proprietor. But yes.
And I apologize, I didn't get a chance to look at the entire list. There's a recent coffee shop, maybe called Dono Coffee, that's opened in the Pennant Building.
Yes.
Were they on this list?
They are not. They are building that out on their own dime entirely.
Okay.
Yeah, I had conversations, Councilman, with Randy Salvatore about that today. And thus far, they have not come to us for any assistance.
Okay, as a total aside, they reached out to me for assistance, but not for money for build out. They're looking for assistance, and I'm glad Mingo Gomes is on this. They're looking for assistance on parking because apparently
We took
they
care
were
of,
counting on parking spaces that people had been using that are suddenly no longer available. So
yeah, we
that's a
took care
total
of that
aside.
today. Yeah, we took care of
Yeah.
that today with Mingo and his team.
Excellent, excellent. Last question for Mr. Concepcion, if I may. And I'm sorry that Senator McCrory is not here to hear the concerns that others have. You know, you talked about the lack of vacancies in some of our corridors. But it strikes me that, and I may be going out on a limb here, but the Farmington Avenue corridor may have the greatest amount of vacancies of any place in the city right now. If you look through the middle of Farmington Avenue around Laurel and Marshall, you've got countless vacancies in those buildings. And then when you get into the West End, it's just building after building that's absolutely dark. I know I gave Director Matthews a complete litany, and it now includes the CVS building at the corner of Whitney and Farmington. I'm just wondering what efforts have been made, because that's clearly an area that's suffering.
If I
Go ahead, sorry.
if I may respond, yeah, you're correct, Councilman Gale. We are now focused on trying to bring someone in to work with us to help identify businesses that may in fact want to use commercial corridors. We're specifically looking at Fountain Avenue because you're exactly right. If you go from Sisson Street down to the West Hartford town line, there are a lot of vacancies, and we have to turn that around. And as you mentioned a moment ago, CVS is now closing, and that's a big space. And we need to find out what we can do differently on Fountain Avenue. We're worried about all avenues, but Fountain Avenue right now, we have to really focus on. The mayor has set aside some monies to focus on activating vacant spaces in our neighborhood, apart from what we may see here in this deck. So we're trying to have a strong focus on Fountain Avenue. And I might add other corridors that may be in similar situations. But right now, Fountain Avenue is really a concern for DDS. So you should know that.
And just quickly, sorry, I'm sorry. Just quickly on our end, for Farmington Avenue, at least on our end, it was not for lack of trying. We called for the properties on the corner of Sisson in Farmington over there. We called that number numerous times to try to get a property owner to respond to us, and we couldn't get anybody. Then there was a property where the old Fagata is that they had applied for Heartlift funds. Unfortunately, the proprietor pulled out, so it was not because of lack of trying, but we will certainly work with anybody on our end.
Well, greatly appreciated. One final note, I note that Plan B was listed as getting some money for opening in the Front Street area. At the same time, Plan B owns vacant property on Farmington Avenue that's been vacant for probably going on 20 years now that they've done nothing with. Not sure what our balance is there.
Do I hear or see any other questions or anything, Councilman Gale?
I'm good, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Chairwoman, if there's no other questions, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Erin Howard, who's certainly an architect for the Heartlift, and she did yeoman's work in creating, and of course, Yvonne has done an incredible job at DDS kind of pushing this forward. So wanted to thank them both, and of course, Charles for it. So it's been a good relationship between the chamber and the city. I just wanted to acknowledge those individuals who work so hard for it.
Thank you, Representative Concepcion, for doing that. I'm sure they do appreciate you acknowledging all their hard work in getting this done.
Madam Chair, I do have one thing, if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead. I've got one more
Okay.
question for you, sir. Go
So
ahead, Madam.
So real quick though, even with all the questions, and I can understand, senators' anxiousness and other things people have asked, I do appreciate that we're doing something that's different, that's, encouraging, I looked at the number of jobs developed. Certainly these are the kind of things that, are exciting because we're trying to look at things in a different way. And yes, Councilman Gale is correct. We need to focus on, certainly some other corridors that have been, not probably engaged as much, but I'm excited that we're at least doing some of these things. So thank you to the folks who are doing that.
And through you, Madam Chair, if I could just
Yeah.
say, we had no playbook, right? This was a new program that we created. We knew there were going to be bumps in the road. We knew there was going to be things we needed to pivot. We created this during the middle of a pandemic. So the fact that we had no playbook and we created this program from the ground up with all your support is important. We've gotten a bunch of calls of other municipalities, not just in Connecticut, but throughout the country, knowing about the HeartLift program and asking us for the scope of work, for the MOU from the city, all that stuff. So again, of course, as there is with any new program, there might be some bumps in the road, but we've been able to mitigate those and continue a successful program. So I appreciate those comments.
Thank you. And I do echo everything Councilman Rossetti said. I know, we are, coming out of the pandemic, Representative Concepcion. I know this was like, get something going, it's important for us to get our, traffic back in downtown Hartford.
Yeah.
It is really so important. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for getting out there. I know I've worked with Marion in your office and door knocked on a couple of businesses myself, looking for, owners who want to take this opportunity. So thank you, and thank your office for all the help in making this.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
You're welcome, sir. Take care.
Madam Chair, can we quickly go through the small business and facade program just to finish this slide deck?
Yes, sir. I will gladly. As I said, it's going to be a long evening meeting because we have not.
We just want to make sure council is up to date on what we're doing here in DDS to make a difference in the city. Yvonne, can you complete it?
Sorry. There are 3 more programs and I'll be quick. So the Small Business Investment Fund program, this program was in concept phase. I joined the city, like I shared with the council at our budget hearing. And we were able to design and roll out and announce the program on November 15th, 2020. So the program has been in place for about 5 months now, and the total funding pool is $1.7 million. The initial funding pool was about $1 million. And also due to the popularity of this program, the mayor decided that we could allocate another $750,000, sorry, I had the typo here, to the existing funding pool. And the goal of this program is to stabilize existing small businesses in the post-pandemic era. So HeartLift is really to activate vacant space, and a lot of new businesses are created through the HeartLift program. And this one is really to stabilize the existing small businesses that have been in the city for many years. So the program is administered by our division, the Division of Small Business, and eligible businesses are basically businesses have been in operation for at least a year. We look at their financial documents to verify that, and they need to be able to demonstrate a sustainable business model and a commitment to business growth. So it is very abstract. So we basically came up with some selection criteria to define what those means. So, so these are the selection criteria: project readiness, economic impact, which is where we look at job created. And then we look at the growth potential and their business viability and strategic significance to the city of Hartford. As of today, we have 62 projects in total. That's the applications that we have received. We have approved 20 of them, and we have 28 of them under review, and 14 are ineligible, mostly because they are startup businesses. Or weren't able to provide us with any financial documentation. So we have 12 out of the 62 projects total. We have 12 in downtown, 50 in the neighborhoods, and 39 out of the 62 are minority and women-owned businesses. Committed to date is $695,000. And then you have approved list of businesses here. And I wanted to point out that Piggy's Cafe and Red Rock Tavern did meet the criteria under this program. So they're able to do some building upkeep and renovation as they wanted, that they couldn't apply under the Heartlift program. And there are some other small business programs that are currently in progress or to be announced. The Small Business Facade Improvement Program. It is a forgivable loan program. The reason being, this is the only way that the city can actually have some control in terms of if the property sells. That's the only way city will be notified through a mortgage deed lien on the property. And it is up to $50,000 per business with a required 25% match. Basically, it allows for non-structural work on publicly visible sides of buildings. So if you're a corner building, both the sides that's facing public roads would be considered publicly visible. Or if you are just the building along the block, and it would be the front of the building. Non-structural basically means we can do windows, awnings, doors. We can do repointing bricks as long as it doesn't impact the physical structure of the building. And now we're asking businesses to fill out participation questionnaires, and we have got quite a lot of attention from Albany Avenue, and we're working our way on Wethersfield Avenue, Farmington Avenue, and Franklin Avenue right now to get more attention and get more traction in those major commercial corridors. And then the last program that I want to talk about is the micro enterprise program. So this program, as I spoke a little bit at the budget hearing, is designed for entrepreneurs in Hartford. So I know we have a lot of small business programs. Heartlift, Small Business Investment Fund, Facade Improvement Program. They benefit really existing businesses, and businesses have been in operations for a while, or they have a landlord that had some financial backup that can support the small businesses through Heartlift. We really didn't have a program that's specifically for entrepreneurs or for the micro enterprises. That means 5 or fewer employees. They really need the support in terms of their inventory, supplies, and a lot of them don't really have a brick and mortar address. So they're either mobile vendors, e-commerce, home businesses. So we were able to find funding to be able to create a program that's a micro grant up to $2,500, and there's no match required. It really allows for a wide range of activities, as detailed down to daycare centers expenses and transportation expenses. If entrepreneurs don't have the means to, they don't have the means to take care of their kids during the day, and they want to spend time, developing their businesses, we're going to be able to take care of their daycare expenses through this program. We can't do equipment purchases only because that requires us to track depreciation for 10 years, even though it's a $500 piece of equipment. So it just adds a lot of administrative burden in our grants office. So that's the program, basically parameters. And the Mayor Bronan will be announcing this program on May 8th at 12 o'clock at Reset, because Reset is the incubator, and they have a lot of small business. They have a lot of small business, micro enterprises, and entrepreneurs that work directly with them. So that's why we're announcing it over there. If you want to contact us, this is our contact information. And any general inquiries, you can go to smallbiz@hartford.gov. If any small businesses reach out to you and say they have a question about our grants, we do have a general email that's set up that they can reach us directly. That's all the rest of the programs I have. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. That was great. I only have one question. And that was the first small business program.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's the maximum. You said it was 50,000?
It's 100,000.
The maximum is 100,000.
Yeah, the maximum 100,000, and the matching requirement is 50%.
And the matching requirement is 50%.
Yes.
And you, okay.
So
and
for
the-
that one, we do require, we do allow COVID revenue loss as the match. So if they were able to demonstrate they lost a significant
Right.
amount of money because of COVID, based on their, of course, audited P&Ls and tax returns. Yeah, we're able to use that as the match.
Okay, great. Thank you. And questions from the members? No questions? Okay, seeing no questions or seeing any questions from the members. Thank you, Ms. Chow, for that presentation, and we really appreciate and looking forward to the e-commerce announcement on the 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I think we can go on to the next item on the agenda. And I hope Mr. Minko is still with us. There's item 2.3, and again, Councilman Nicola Brown and Council President Rosado is a resolution requesting an update on the comprehensive parking study. Is Mr. Mingo still here?
I am.
Go, Mingo. Mr. Gomes, I apologize. Everybody knows you as Mingo. So thank you very much for coming to the committee and giving an update on the comprehensive parking study.
Thank you, Madam Chair, councilmen and women. This program, or at least the study, started early 2021. We, Development Services and the Hartford Parking Authority, engaged with THA Consultant, BFJ Planning, and Wood Solution Group to do a comprehensive study of 4 areas in the city of Hartford. Those areas are the downtown, Upper Albany, Parkville, and Weathersfield Avenue. We wanted to make sure that we had a good cross-section of the city. The purpose was to understand the existing public and private parking inventory, forecast future demands for public owned and parking facilities, help develop strategic parking management plans and recommendations for key focus areas. Leverage transit and alternative modes to minimize parking demands, and obtain community stakeholder input regarding parking issues within the city. Of course, unfortunately, the study was started at the peak of COVID. So quite a bit of the work in getting some of the analysis and parking studies was looking backwards pre-COVID as to what our inventory was and our usage throughout the city, which was definitely eye-opening. There were public engagements for each of the 4 study groups with not only stakeholders, but also community, both live and online. The study, some of the observations was that this is citywide, that we have lacking public parking assets. We have no parking minimums promoting development without public parking infrastructure in place. Transit system is robust, but it does not significantly reduce parking demand, and enforcement issues magnify the deficiencies. In the downtown specifically, downtown has a lot, which is quite a bit of parking. The reality is that the public parking components is minimal. Only 13 of the 170 downtown parking facilities are publicly owned. Only 9,183 out of 33 or 34,000 parking spaces, or 27%, are controlled by either CRDA and or Hartford Parking Authority. And the cost of parking is considered too high by the community and HPA, and HPA doesn't have enough market share to influence any price change. When we go to Upper Albany, on-street parking spaces along Albany Avenue are generally unregulated and without time limits. HPA has conducted 2 limited pilot studies with paid parking on Albany Avenue, and that has definitely expanded way beyond that since. And enforcement occurs less frequency than downtown areas, activities generally limited to the residential parking areas. In Parkville, within the Parkville study area, most activities are focused on northern portions near Parkville Market, of course. At this time, other areas in Parkville are less active. The city and HPA intend to add more loading zones to the area, like we do everywhere else, handicap parking, things of that nature. Outside the time regulated parking, in that corridor, there's very little enforcement. Weathersfield Avenue, currently Weathersfield Avenue corridor study area is capable of meeting local parking needs, and if anything changes, because they have wide streets, a lot of parking in the areas. That said, with the feedback that we had, there are three areas that we are focusing on. Number one, I'll start with Upper Albany. We definitely are putting a lot of time, or at least the Hartford Parking Authority is putting a lot of, along with DPW and Development Services, into Upper Albany. We are working with both of the NRZs and the Upper Albany and Maine Association, along with the Upper Albany Merchants Association, to do what we can to organize parking, add loading zones, and utilize already existing parking in that area. I know that there are initiatives for the future to have some developments on some of the lots that are in the Upper Albany area, but those aren't being discussed at this time. I know that Woodland and Albany is up for discussion, along with a couple of other sites. When it comes to Parkville, we're still having discussions on Parkville as around the Bartholomew Avenue specifically. And with that is also the streets around there, which include Park Street, which is one of the busiest streets in the city of Hartford, and definitely needs a little bit of work there. When you're looking at the downtown, we are trying to utilize already existing parking spaces. The Hartford Parking Authority is going to have a meeting with most of the parking owners in the city, which are Shelbourne Group, LAS, ProPark, and there's a couple of others that we're going to try to bring to the table to see what can we do with the parking inventory that we have, given that the Hartford Parking Authority has a limited amount of parking. That 27%, I have to say, of the parking that's public, most of that is CRDA, and most of that falls over near the Civic, near the Science Center, the Convention Center. And even though downtown is big, when we're talking about core downtown, that's still a 5-10 minute walk for most people. And let's be honest about it, people have a affinity for cars in the US. They want their car right downstairs. So we're going to do what we can to maximize the parking spaces and utilize what we already have in the downtown area. As for Weathersfield, we are eventually going to try to organize there as much as possible. If anything, just to make sure that parking is organized. And what I mean by that is we've done some striping on Albany Avenue as of late in preparation for the full deal that we have with them. And as I drive down Albany Avenue, cars are already parking in stalls automatically. And for me, it's a win. Just by virtue of putting stalls up there, it starts organizing. As part of that, we're also going to be putting up loading zones in the merchant areas, which we will do throughout the city, and handicap on one on every side of every block wherever we possibly can. We've already started discussion with our Upper Albany. We're going to be doing the same thing, walking the streets with Upper Albany, and eventually working our way throughout the rest of the city. So the parking study basically came out and said, there is plenty of parking, but not in the right place, not in the right configuration. There is not enough on-street parking downtown. There is limited on-street parking in some of these areas of focus, Upper Main, even though it was a non-focus, Upper Main, we're working with them right now to try to organize already existing parking spaces that have underutilized parking, where there's already asphalt, where there's already striping, where there's already signs, where there's already lighting, so that we can help them organize into a parking, so to get cars off the street. So we're not an advocate of building new garages. I am an advocate that says you need purposeful parking for some areas. For example, when it comes to Duncan Stadium, you need parking around Duncan Stadium. Let's be honest about it. And currently today, as you know, downtown North is being developed. The lot across the street is the next to go. We did lease Rensselaer, but now Rensselaer is up for sale. So we have our work cut out for us in downtown. But that doesn't mean that we should not do everything that we can to try to work collectively with private business and city to solve the problem, because in a decade, parking is going to look much different than it does today. And that's what the study came out. It basically said Hartford Parking Authority should be a bigger player in parking, not only with trying to have some of the inventory, but also trying to work with partners to get them together to see what we could do, but also in some areas enforce, because some of the parking is being used inappropriately, and with a little bit of enforcement, we could get it back into somewhat control. That's what I have for you today. It really didn't bring out anything I didn't know, but it was nice. But it was nice to see that on paper it said what I thought it was going to say. And if you ask especially in the downtown where there's a lot of discussion, if you ask most of the owners and you ask most of the developers, there is a lack of space. And I'm not saying a lack of space throughout the whole city or throughout the whole town, but if you have a business that's trying to come into downtown and they have 400 employees and they say, okay, where am I going to park 300 cars? You could probably find 300 parking spots between all of our inventory, but it's not in one place. You don't have 300 parking spots in the Met. You don't have 300 parking spots in the Gold Building. You just don't have it, right? And with COVID, because of COVID, there are leases that are still ongoing. Even ourselves with the Hartford Parking Authority, we have leases with 20 Church where the parking is locked in for years, and they're still paying the bill, but it's being underutilized and it's not available for any new business. And only as those leases begin to come to an end, or we negotiate an end to them, will we be able to at least make some monumental change. And I'll give you an example. The Mac Garage, oversold. We just signed a lease with the Board of Education, who's moving into 20 Church for 150 parking spaces. We also use the Mac Garage for Hartford Stage, Excel Center, and downtown parking for business. I think that business or garage owners in downtown need to be flexible. They need to look for opportunity. And I think we need to look together to help each other. When you have a big tenant coming in, they say, hey, I need X amount of space. We could get together as a team and say, okay, you may not have it over here, but within 3 facilities, we can get you the same price in 3 facilities and make it worthwhile to entice business to come into Hartford. Councilman Gale, we did solve the problem over at the tenant building.
Oh, thank you, Mingo. I love the concept of everyone working together, because when we all work together, everyone benefits. So thank you so very much for that presentation.
My final say on that is no. When the tide comes in, all ships rise, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to do. It's trying to utilize already existing inventory that we have, and where possible, protecting the purposeful parking to make sure that some of our venues, have space for people to come in, like Duncan Stadium, like the Athletics. Those are areas that need a lot of cars.
Yeah.
But thank you for the time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for the presentation. Any questions for Councilman Rossetti? Thank
you, Madam Chair. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. I've been saying for longer than I'd like to think, if people had their way, they'd park next to their desks. But and I don't want to, no answer tonight or whatever, but working together, people being flexible. But do we ever look at also, people parking outside of the city and, finding a way in through shuttles? I mean, we do all this around parking, but we're still not thinking of it in a different way than what we do it. And it's just a statement. I don't expect any, a big conversation about it tonight, but that's something I've also said for longer than I'd like to think. So thank you again, Mr. Gomes.
And to answer your question, Councilwoman, I agree. We do have surrounding cities and towns that are capable of parking cars. We do have a robust transit system that moves across the river and from both north and south and west. I think that conversation has to go to some of the business owners. And I'm talking about the bigger ones, like, you know, the Hartford, the Travelers, and the ones that bring in a lot of people. I agree with you, but that discussion hasn't been started, with all honesty. But that is one that should be had, and I will mention that to my partners.
Okay. Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Madam Chair.
Oh, Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Gomes, for your presentation. As always, one thought for you as you're developing this in the future. You know, along the lines of the city controlling the parking, which I think, you know, I'm fully supportive of. And in an area that came up in the last presentation, the Farmington Avenue corridor. Right now, there's potentially an opportunity, as I understand it. The city owns the former Brazza building, and I believe that means that the city owns all of the parking behind the Brazza building. And in addition to the parking behind the Brazza building, I think the city also owns the apartment building that abuts that parking. And that apartment building has a parking lot that's currently, it's not even being used. But my thought and my reason for mentioning it is that it might be worthwhile for the city to look at putting all of that parking together. And when the city finally sells Brazza, to not sell the parking, to keep the parking as then a neighborhood parking zone that could be used both by the apartment building, but also by all those businesses, very much like the way it's done in West Hartford Center, where they have you know, a large parking lot behind all of the stores. It would seem that we have an opportunity to potentially do that in that Brazza area. So I would just throw that out there for your consideration and perhaps discussions. Hopefully someday the city's going to sell Brazza, and hopefully that someday is sooner rather than later, but we should be prepared at that time because this is an opportunity.
Thank you, Councilman. And Charles is on and he's listening and he knows that we will be talking. But it's not just about, I agree with you, Middletown, West Hartford does a fantastic job of having centralized parking for the merchants and the neighborhoods. I think we need that on the Park Street area. I believe we need it on Franklin Avenue. I believe we need it on both legs heading north on Albany Avenue and on Main. I agree with you 100%.
Any other questions from the council members? Seeing none, I just want to thank you, Mr. Gomes, for all the work you and your staff has been doing in working with the Merchants Association and the residents in Upper Albany. Again, working together has made a difference. And you are absolutely right. The little markings that you have done, I drive by there every day, and people are actually adhering to it. I was very impressed. So it does work. So thank you so very much. And thank you for your patience from our last committee meeting, which we had to, you know, postpone until today. So thank you for your patience in working and giving us that update.
And I'm also going to share with you, Councilwoman or Madam Chair, that over the next week, you're also going to see that we took the responsibility from DPW. We are going to hang the sweeping signs along Albany Avenue.
Yay.
So those are going to go up over the next week, so that now there are going to be signs from Homestead Avenue all the way down to Main that are going to announce when sweeping is going to be done by DPW at night.
No, I think it's great. And I think that's going to be a big help, you know, trying to get the avenue cleaned up. And so as it rains and those drainage is covered with, you know, debris, the water doesn't get to go down the drain. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. So thank you again for your time and your patience with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So next up on the agenda, Councilman Gale, this is your big day. I'm looking forward to hearing about the changes in the ordinance. It's item 2.5. It's Councilman Gale, Councilman Surgeon, Council President Rosado, Majority Leader Clark, and Minority Leader Rossetti all sponsored this ordinance that increased the fines and frequency that fines may be levied for illegal parking of tractors and tractor trailers. First, I just want to thank Councilman Gale for taking the initiative to to update this ordinance. You know, we have had in our committee another resolution that looking for parking spaces for the tractor trailer. So I just want to thank you personally, for doing this. This was a big help with the tractor trailer, especially, with, over the next couple of months with the spring, summer, and we're going to be seeing them a lot more in the neighborhoods. So
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And clearly we were all responding to complaints that we were receiving from our constituents, and our own eyes told us. I think all of us have been witness to an increasing frequency with which tractor trailers just seem to show up on residential streets. And so, hearing that, we got together, we drafted this ordinance change. It was before this committee and approved in the past. However, subsequent to the discussion we had in committee at another public hearing that was held, we heard even more concerns from residents, this time concerning not just tractor trailers, but box trucks. And so what I have before you tonight is the ordinance with the following. So we're clear as to the changes that are being made to the ordinance. The ordinance will now levy a fine of $250 for parking on city streets by tractor trailers or box trucks. And the fine can be levied every 3 hours. So you can't, as a truck, just decide to park there overnight and think you're going to get one ticket. If you park there for 12 hours, you could potentially get 4 tickets during that time of $250 each. So the new thing that's before you tonight is that I've put a definition in there, and I've sent it through corporate counsel.
Yep.
I know our corporation counsel, Howard Rifkin, looked at it. He didn't have any particular comments for me. He may have some, or Alexandra Lombardi may have some when they review it in more detail. But as we speak tonight, Attorney Rifkin felt comfortable with my definition of box truck. And the other thing that I added to it is an effective date. And I just reached into the air and picked one. So if the committee has some other idea,
nope.
Please, I put July 1. Our ordinances, if we don't put an effective date, they're effective upon passing. And I thought there ought to be at least some reasonable time to provide some notice to people. I didn't want to give a 6-month leeway for notice. So I picked July 1. I mean, that's about a month and a half. We could go October, September. We could go some other date if members feel we ought to have a little more lead time. But those are the changes before you tonight. And if approved, I'm told by Attorney Rifkin that these are non-substantive, such that another public hearing is required. We can simply move this back to council and pass it.
Councilman Gale, again, thank you. No, I agree with the effective date. I think they'll give us an opportunity, to get this information out to the police officers. This will get the information out to Mr. Mingo, regarding, ticketing and all this, because he is, he and his staff are in the community and they do see this. So I'm good. I wish it would have been, we can't do June 1st, but the fiscal year begins. So I'm fine with the, for the July 1st effective date. Any comments, questions from any of the committee members? Councilwoman Rossetti, I apologize, ma'am.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, thank you, Councilman Gale. Certainly the goal is to not have people park. So let's look at the fines as deterrents, particularly within every 3-hour cycle. Mr. Gomes, would it just be parking authority and or police that would be ticketing, and are people prepared to do that?
It would be both. It would be the Hartford Parking Authority and the Hartford PD once those go into play.
So my concern, not for you so much, Mr. Gomes, because you're in the business of parking violations. My concern, Madam Chair, is oftentimes there seems to be a disconnect between what we need to enforce, what's a law, and what the police department actually does. I hope we have a robust plan on how to make sure, because if people are just going to park, let me lay it out for you. Truck drivers or boxcars or whatever are just going to do it, and they see police go by, I'm not talking about parking 30 so much, and they know nothing's going to happen, then it's just going to be business as usual. Do you know what I mean? And that concerns me. So just throwing that out there.
Mr. Gomes?
I can say, Councilwoman, that HPD gives tickets if you call them up and you complain. They actually just go out, and there's a 3-hour, if there's a tractor trailer, the law says right now that there's a 3-hour that they can sit there and you have to truck the wheel.
Well, Mr. Gomes, maybe they do that for you, but over the last few years, I've done it multiple times. You don't like to think most people can't call the police chief. I've done it multiple times, and it's either that's not a law, I can't do it, so it's personal experience that I have a concern that this won't be, and I don't mean to be rude and interrupt you, so sorry.
But you can always call us. We will send somebody out. We will ticket them. And I just want this committee to know that we also tow. So if now we follow the rules. So if a tractor trailer has 3 or more pass-through citations, we actually call HPD, we bring in the heavy, and we tow that whole vehicle away. So we've been working collectively with them, and I can't talk about your experience with HPD, but I could tell you that when we call them and we ask them for their support, they do come. And
Madam Chair, it's not just my experience. Believe me, it's many people's experience. But again, I would like to see this as a deterrent, because things that are acceptable in other towns, not parking, tractor trailer rigs on residential streets in neighborhoods is not acceptable. And we need to get to the mindset that it's not acceptable in this city also. So I hope, Councilman Gale, it's not just about the fine, it's about getting people to understand the things that are acceptable and not acceptable. So I'm done. Thanks, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Let me say that I have been working with the Hartford Police, HPD, but maybe a month or so ago, they again was targeting, boxcars and tractor trailers. They did not have an ordinance like this to enable them to start ticketing. And so, now that they have this tool, I believe they will start using it, because I can tell you, in the neighborhoods from Blue Hills to the Northeast, Upper Albany, I've heard these concerns. When the people who are working, entrepreneurs working and working for Amazon, and they'll park their trucks, on the side streets. This ordinance is going to help the HPD in enforcing the parking, the cost. I think we had, Councilman Gale, I think we increased the fine, because one of the problem was with the fine, it wasn't large enough, and the guys who were making, working, for Amazon and so on and so forth, just like, oh, we can pay it, and we just moved on. So I think we did increase the fine also, Councilman Gale, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The fine is now $250.
Every 3 hours?
Every 3 hours. That's very substantial.
I think so too. Absolutely. Councilman Hernandez, any questions, concerns?
No, I think that last statement answered my question. I wanted to ask about the every 3 hours. Like every 3 hours will be another 250 in every instance of every 3 hour allotment.
That's the design, so that, if you're there for 9 hours, you pull your truck there at 8 o'clock at night, you don't leave it, move it till late in the morning, you could end up with 4 tickets and pay $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, if Hartford Parking Authority does that to one truck, the word will get out.
Yeah.
And it will start to spread pretty quickly, I would guess.
So I was going to ask about the communication, because I understand July 1st was the date, and it seems like there's consensus on that. And in order to achieve that deterrence that Councilwoman Rossetti was speaking about, do we have any plans of communicating this change in any way before July 1st? So that way, hopefully the deterrence could begin even before fines start, accumulating, right? To allow people to at least, on their own voluntarily to be like, listen, I don't want to pay $250. Let me do what I got to do, as opposed to learn by the experience of having to pay, these fines.
Can I also say that maybe just that the first ticket be a warning ticket so they can be educated that going forward, this will be the fines? Because at the current fine, it did not make a difference. And so maybe, I keep wanting to say Mingo, Mr. Gomes may be speaking with the HPD. The first could be a warning ticket, and then thereafter, listen, we have warned you. Now the fines will start. Communicating this information out to the general public, I'm not sure, how to get this information out to, I know the NRZs and I know the organizations which have been major concerns with this parking issue. They would love to be told when this passed so they can get the word out to their residents.
Madam Chair, if I may, I agree with you that trying to get the word out to that demographics of people is going to be very difficult.
Yep.
I would say is allow us, once it passes, allow us to do our job, because as the Hartford Parking Authority, we do have some leeway where we could turn some actual citations into warnings. So if we were to hit and do a targeted run over a weekend or over a couple of 3 days, and some vehicles receive 5, 6 tickets. And just so everybody knows, that's not unlike anything else that we have in the downtown with metered space. But we could then, if that individual came in and said, hey, I didn't understand it, we could reduce most of them, if not all, except for one, keep one ticket and reduce the other ones to warnings. Now that individual knows. And then it would be noted within our system, so that individual in that license plate cannot come back and do that again. So I believe issue the tickets as normal, as we would normally do, and then allow us to at least have that discussion when they come in and do it that way. That way there, we can work directly with them, but we don't stop doing the work that we're trying to deter people from parking in neighborhoods.
I'd like to voice my agreement with Mr. Gomes' approach. I think I like that approach of allowing the Hartford Authority to decide whether they could turn it into a warning if the person comes back but I like that approach.
Listen, we have been complaining about this for many years now. So again, as I said, I sincerely, when Councilman Gale actually, took the initiative to help write this ordinance, this to me is a solution it's a great solution on the table. So I am open for any motions on the floor.
Move to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Rossetti.
I couldn't get the friggin' mute off. I was like, second.
I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question, Councilman?
Yeah, let me just say that motion has been made and second. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. At least
Sure.
the papers that I have, they do not know the July 1st. It still says this ordinance should take effect upon enactment. Do I not have maybe the updated version, or?
You do not. I don't know.
Councilman Gale, it's my fault. You had sent it to me and I did not forward it to Sadea to send out to everyone.
Is my screen being shared?
Yes, it is.
All right, Councilman Hernandez, if you look at the very bottom, it now says this ordinance shall take effect July 1.
Perfect. I want to, before we take vote, I want to make sure that was the case. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Councilman Gale, if you could send that amended change to Sadea so she'll have it when she files her report.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Right. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstention? Hearing none. This ordinance will be sent favorably to the next council meeting. And again, Councilman Gale, thank you very much for your effort and your time in doing this, sir. All right, great. Next item on the agenda, and that would be item 2.6. And that is an accompanying resolution from Mayor Bronan to enter into and execute a purchase and sale agreement with Renzo LLC or an affiliated entity established for such purchase for such purpose for a purchase price of $30,000. Do we have anyone from the administration? I thought I saw Mr. Diaz.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Yes. I want to share my screen for a presentation real quick.
And when you're sharing your screen, let me do add that this resolution affects two pieces of property. The sale of 17 Cabot Street and also 16H Sterling Street. And this resolution went to a public hearing on April 17th and also went to planning and zoning for 824 review.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so you have to get the floor.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you stated, this is for two separate lots, 7 Cabot Street, 16H Sterling Street. As the resolution states, Renzo LLC proposes to rehab the existing 6-unit structure on 17 Cabot Street while also developing the landlocked vacant lot on 16H Sterling Street. He proposes to purchase both parcels for $30,000 and anticipated approximately $600,000 of for the project cost, which would be handled by private financing and equity, and would be compliant with the typical City of Hartford regulations, Hartford Affirmative Action Plan with the 15% MWBE participation and the 30% Hartford resident goal, and obviously with all city requirements regarding with planning, zoning, and historic as need be. So Renzo LLC had purchased from the Hartford Land Bank 196 Homestead Avenue back in probably approximately a year ago. And when he acquired the property, he knew that one of the issues that had it was landlocked. There's no parking lot. There's no way to access the lot toward the rear. And he was interested in the vacant lot, which is 16H Sterling Street, which is, you can see right here in the middle of the presentation. The city was in the process of acquiring that lot through a foreclosure process, and he was interested in acquiring that to accommodate the residents of the building. And there's an existing easement through Sterling Street to access that lot. While we were having internal discussions with Jose Salazar, the owner of Renzo LLC, we were faced with the challenges of how are we going to put a parking lot in such a big parcel. At the same, while in the middle of these conversations, the city also acquires 7 Cabot Street, which also connects to that same 16H Sterling Street lot on the rear. So the idea popped up, hey, maybe we can make this into a bigger development, accommodate parking for both parcels, and that way we can actually have a significant change in the lot in the rear at 16H Sterling Street. The 17 Cabot Street property was acquired by the city through a foreclosure. It's abandoned 6-family unit. And we have a proposed site plan. Nothing has been finalized yet. As you can see, the property on the bottom of the screen, 196, which he already owns, and it's currently under renovations right now. He wants to put approximately 9 parking spaces, and people will have access through Sterling Street. And then on the other side, it'll accommodate parking around 7 parking spaces for the residents of 17 Cabot Street. The project was presented on, I think, this past Monday to the local NRZ, attached to support letter that we received from the NRZ. Mr. Salazar actually offered up a tour of the area to NRZ members yesterday in the rain. And so he showed them the rear, showed them what's going on with 196 Homestead Ave renovations currently, showed him what he anticipates to do with 16A Sterling Street, and then we also walked to 7 Cabot Street to see how the project would connect on the rear. Brenzel LLC, a local Hartford-based contractor developer. He has successfully completed rehab work on several multifamily units. This is 60 Capon Street, 97 Enfield Street, 471 Garden Street, 647 Garden Street, and he's also currently working on 196 Homestead Ave. So I do have some. I do want to introduce him and also show some before and after pictures of projects that he has worked on. Jose, are you still on the line? I know I saw him here a few hours ago. I think he is, but he looks like he might be muted.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can do. How you doing?
Good. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present our project and the idea we have for these 2 parcels and combine it with the one we are currently working on, 196 Homestead Avenue. And yeah, again, just to kind of introduce myself a little bit. Sorry for the voice. I don't know if it's allergies or something. Today I kind of losing my voice. I hope you can hear me. But again, I've been working in the city of Hartford for the last 20 years. First as a project manager for Regal Realty. So I've been involved in many properties around the city. And I've been working on my own projects since 2008. Mr. J just presented the ones within the last 3 years in the north side of town. And we are very excited of, to have the opportunity to do a bigger project in Homestead Avenue and Cabot Street. And bring those properties that have been vacant. As far as I know, Homestead has been vacant for over 20 years. I don't know how long it's been vacant, Cabot Street. And it'll be great if we have the opportunity to bring it back to be useful for residents in Hartford.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm gonna go through a few more slides just to show some of the projects he's done. The pictures on the left are the before, and the ones on the right are the after. So this is 60 Capon Street, 647 Garden Street, 471 Garden Street, 95 Enfield Street, and then he's in the middle of, like I said, renovating 196 Homestead. So as you can see, these were some of the conditions of the building when he acquired it last year. And the roof collapsed and he had to go in there, basically do emergency surgery on the building. And these are current pictures of of the progress that he's been making with the building. And I think, and this is the final picture that he's already put out new windows. So this is how the building looks as of right now. So if you have any, if you have any questions on the project, I'm here, and so is Mr. Salazar.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Diaz, and thank you for inviting the NRZ's members to take a tour of the building yesterday. And yes, we were all in the rain, and yes, we all got wet, but it was worth it. I want to thank Mr. Salazar for letting us, take a tour of both sites. One of the things which the members of the NRZ was very happy and impressed with is the empty lot that they're going to, there was so much green space that, residents in our neighborhood plan, one of the things we asked for in the neighborhood is green space. And this is a great opportunity for him to remodel the building, have some green space so the residents can bring their chairs or tables outside, and be able to also park, but be also able to enjoy the green space. So, so that was very impressive. And then the members of the NRZ was in total support of, selling both properties to Mr. Salazar, especially taking a look at when we toured the inside of the building. You know, one of the things which when I was impressed, and I'm going to say me more than anything else, is that, you know, there's washer dryer hookup, you know, which was great. So the residents doesn't have to leave to go to a laundromat, you know, especially, you know, with your kids. You know, it was great to see open space. And so I was happy with the way he's designed the 6 units in the Homestead Avenue. So as a member of the NRZ, you know, I'm going to state so everybody knows that I am certainly in support of it. So also any questions or concerns from the members of the PD&H committee? And I can't see anybody's hands because of the presentation.
Okay, so I do have a question,
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
just speak up, okay? There you go.
So this
Sorry
is
about that.
there you go. All right, so I have a question, and on that same diagram, you don't have to bring it up again, but that same diagram, next to 24 Sterling Street, I'm looking at a satellite picture that I have here on my phone. I wanted to see that space because that's where the drive, that road basically will lead into that parking lot. I mean, I see that it is a lot more space than the usual between the other homes. Who owns that space? Is that space owned by any particular landlord? Is that empty lot, or?
It's owned actually by the building after 2426, and there's an easement, an agreement that the 16H has the authority to pass through there.
Okay, that was my question. And then
Yes.
the owners in that area, they know about this plan, so there's just no issues with having that road there. You know, from the
I think initially when they started construction, there's probably a little bit of pushback, but once that the easement was demonstrated to the property owner, he complied.
Sounds good. That was the only question I had. I wasn't sure. I was looking at the satellite picture. I'm like, I don't know, but I get it now.
Yes.
I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, sir.
That's exactly why I had to go walk the tour, Councilman Hernandez, because I couldn't figure it out either. But when we actually walked around and see it, okay, now it actually ring a bell. But we didn't understand it either. So that was a very good question. We actually walked around and saw the easement area to get into the bigger empty space area. So yeah.
Okay. Councilman Gale, we do have a reverter clause in there too. So.
Hold a second. So they didn't even allow Councilman Gale to make his pitch here? Come on, Mr. Councilman. You gotta talk about your clawback thing. Let's go. We gotta hear it.
Actually, Madam Chair, my comment was going to be that I had read everything through, and I just wanted to thank Mr. Diaz and thank DSS and thank Mr. Salazar for stepping forward. And I especially want to comment on the imaginative use of now our foreclosure process, our blight process, as well as the ability to connect these things with contractors who can get the job done. Mr. Salazar obviously has a track record and a good working relationship with our department. But thank you, Mr. Diaz and DSS, for putting it all together so that these sort of disparate pieces that were just sort of hanging out here are now going to all come together for a real benefit for that entire neighborhood. I'm sure everybody's going to benefit from the middle of that block being more landscaped and a welcoming space. Even if you don't live there, you'll be able to enjoy just looking at it. So thank you.
Thank you. Totally agree with you, Councilman Gale. Also want to say that I know we do need a 24 review from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but I would like to encourage my council members to actually approve this. So going to council for the next council meeting, and I'm sure by then, around then, with the approval of the committee, we'll also ask for the A24 approval also at that time. So I am open for any motion on the floor.
Happy to make a motion to move this back to council favorably.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rossetti. I'm sorry, I'm so tired now. Okay, there's a motion on the floor that's been favorably second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstention? Seeing, hearing none. This items 2.6 will be sent favorably to council for the next council meeting. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get it on the next council agenda unless we do a supplemental. So we have to work on that because the deadline for the next council meeting was today, and it's kind of passed. So we may not get it on the next council meeting because of the report, but it will be on the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Diaz, and by that time, we'll also have the 824.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Salvador, thank you so very much for the tour, and thank you for coming to our committee meeting, and all best of luck, and I'm looking forward to working with you in that community.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. All right. One last item, and it may be last, and I really want to thank Ms. Drayton to bear with us for the last hour or two, but last, but it's not least. We're going to get to this item. So it's item 2.7, and that item is a accompanying resolution from Mayor Bronin authorizing the city to accept $250,000 award administered by the Greater Hartford Transit District and funded by the Federal Transit Administration. And I presume, Ms. Drayton, from the Office of Sustainability, you'll be speaking on this item?
Yes.
Great. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. Tell me when you can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I bring this to you, and I know it might be a little bit of surprise for everybody, but I just wanted to highlight that the Office of Sustainability takes into consideration projects that align both with the Plan of Conservation and Development, which focuses on reducing carbon emissions and addressing climate change. And we also have a transportation section within our climate action plan. And I have the vision here circled for you. And it's a multimodal shift. It's to a multimodal affordable transportation network with safe biking. And I say biking in quotations because we'll talk about what else can be added in a minute. And walking options and fewer vehicle related emissions, which improves air quality and cuts asthma rates.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can. Still within that transportation section, we have 5 goals here, and I'll tell you how this micromobility study aligns with 3 of those goals. So first, it increases walking and biking, and this study will focus on identifying methods other than carbon combustion engine passenger vehicles, such as shared e-bikes, electric car share, shared passenger services, and other options that the community does identify. And it addresses goal number 2 because it increases the transit use. It's kind of like a behavioral shift. We provide residents the access to other forms of transportation so they can get to jobs and other resources within the city. And then for goal number 3, it does decrease vehicle emissions by removing cars from the road and reducing those greenhouse gas emissions associated with those cars that would be in place instead of the microtransit options we'll identify. So the project summary, we would just like to develop an implementation plan in partnership with our organizations and residents for zero emission strategies that fill in the gaps in the transit. We're focusing on the last mile. So from the time that somebody exits their house to the time that they catch another form of transportation, that's where we would like to focus. So within the study, we have an existing conditions analysis. And that will just research policies and programs of things that are already available to us that are related to zero emissions for Hartford and the greater Hartford region. And then next we'll have a resident-led community needs assessment. And those would be conversations led by residents and organizations. And through that qualitative process, they will identify their experiences, any gaps that might be blind spots to us. And so we can incorporate those. Following that, we'll have a qualitative and quantitative data analysis. So we will take the existing condition and we'll fuse them with the data that our residents provided and that feedback. And then that will kind of synthesize into like a program design. So the program will function as a pilot, and then it will be developed into an implementation plan. There should be an RFP that follows this, and we're hoping. And at this program design phase, again, we'll have the involvement of our residents and local community organizations. And we're hoping to pave the way to implement a strategy that bridges the gaps for all people who take the transportation and also considers a future expansion within the micromobility transit. And I just want to kind of preface this as kind of put this into perspective, because the Office of Sustainability does address or would like to address and has taken efforts to address the transportation system as a whole. So microtransit is just a small part of the transportation ecosystem. So this study would go hand in hand with efforts such as the installation of EV chargers and then the fleet conversion within the city. So these kind of just overall decrease greenhouse gas emissions. This is a pass-through grant from the Greater Hartford Transit District. And Mary was on the phone, but she had to go to put her child to bed. So she apologized, she cannot be here, but they would be the interface between us and for the grant. They take on all the administrative duties so we could just focus on the previous aspects I did explain. And then lastly, I just wanted to kind of give you an example of what exactly it would look like. So we're looking at electric car share here. So it allows residents to access a vehicle and travel anywhere independent of rail and bus schedules within a certain period. And we're hoping those will be electric vehicles, of course, and they can use it for food, like grocery store trips, or going to the doctors, or any work-related travel, or just something that they had planned on a day that they would like to get out and about. And that's all I have for you.
Great, thank you. Any questions or concerns from the committee members? Councilman Gale, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Drayton. That was wonderful. I so much appreciate it. We all do, I'm sure. These imaginative ideas coming out of our departments, and the forward thinking and looking at new ways of looking at old problems and trying to come up with new solutions. So kudos to you. Great job. It strikes me that last frame, the electric car share. I'm familiar with Zipcar, which is a car share program. In fact, I think Hartford had one or two Zipcars. I don't know if through COVID they managed to hang in there, but I know there was at least one Zipcar downtown, and there was one over by Trinity College at one point. But it strikes me that what you may be talking about is something very similar to the Zipcar, where you'll have an electric car available, or multiple electric cars available in a neighborhood at a designated place where any resident could go and access the car and use it to go shopping, and then bring it back. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, but I give that as an example, just being mindful that when we do the community engagement and outreach, this is a resident-led effort. So although I gave an example of an electric car share, what the residents reflect, what their feedback is the direction we're going to go.
Certainly makes sense. So again, thank you.
Yes.
No other questions.
Thank you. Any other council members? Councilman Rossetti?
I just want to echo Councilman Gale. Thank you, Madam Chair. What a great night with a lot of really great, different kind of things. And, I'm so pleased, blown away. We can't thank people on how hard enough they work. Even Mr. Salazar, we've got these different ideas on how to park. This is a long but fruitful and great committee meeting. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you. I just want to add my kudos also that I haven't really thought about, getting an electric car and, running to the grocery store or to the pharmacy. But one of the things I do like in your presentation and do commend you is the outreach. into the community more than anything else. And I think once the outreach starts, there's going to be an education, which is not really, I don't see that much in the community, regarding emissions. And I really don't see that at all. I don't see, going into electric vehicles. I don't really see that knowledge base in the community. So I do hope, as the transit authority starts really getting more involved, they would really do some education of what this is all about.
Yes, I think this would be great, and a sort of great like introduction for residents to understand how the electric cars work, and maybe even at the end of all this, might want one of their own. Right. Hopefully, we'll have our EV chargers installed by then.
Well, one of the things is, talk about EV chargers. Well, personally speaking, one of the things I would love to your sustainability division to start doing is, how do we get some of these residential properties, in line to, to have, to be able to, when say 4 or 5 years, 10 years down the line, somebody buys an electric